Thank you for joining us for this virtual book festival that was recorded live on May 30th. This is produced by Book Festival Network, a division of Dear Texas and Dear Indie. This show is sponsored by Authors Marketing Guild. We're a membership-owned company that helps authors learn how to market and sell themselves. Also by IndieLector.store, the only bookstore that offers up to 80% of its sales to authors directly. And produced by Dear Indie and Dear Texas, where we drop everything and read both Texas and indie authors. We would like to introduce Shannon L Mokry to our audience.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Alan. So as you know, my name is Shannon Mokry, and I am a children's book author. That's what we're all doing today. I wanted to talk about my first series today. And that started with Bubbles and the Berry Bush, and it quickly moved on to Bubbles and the Mermaid Adventure, and then my newest book, Bubbles and the Big Race. These were all started with my daughter, who I was rescuing. Give me just a moment here. In the middle of the night when she was 4, she was not wanting to stay in her bed, much like many other children, I would imagine. So at 2 or 3 in the morning, I was given a choice. I could make up stories, or I could turn on the light, dig out my glasses, and read to her. Well, I chose to tell some stories of my own. That's how Bubbles, the bubble blowing dragon, was invented or created. My kids aren't particularly adventurous when it comes to names. So if we had a bubble blowing dragon, his name was going to be Bubbles. But at 2 in the morning, I decided if my daughter was going to put me to all the work of telling stories, I wanted them to put her mind to work as well. So each story has a deeper intent. So the first one started with forgiveness and conflict resolution. She's the youngest of 3 children, so conflict resolution is a big one in our household. The mermaid story teaches about personal responsibility. When we're out and about at the park or other places, I need her to know that I hold her to the same level of responsibility if I'm looking at her and holding her hand, or if she's 10 feet away from me playing with her friends. The rules don't change. And then Bubbles and the Big Race, that was about good sportsmanship. One of the things that I found is a lot of people think good sportsmanship is only for the kids who are good at sports, or the kids who are bad at sports and have to learn to take defeat. But good sportsmanship is really for everyone. It's an attitude. And that's an attitude that I think all of our children need to recognize and learn to control themselves and how they interact with their friends. It was a big step for me to publish all of these, because I've been a person who was bullied a bit as a younger child. Your children may be experiencing some of that, or you may have gone through that as a child as well. And what I decided with my 3 children is I could no longer live a life of fear. And that was not an example I wanted my children to grow up with. So I put myself out there, and I decided I was going to live beyond my fear. Not that I'm not still afraid of what other people think of me or how I might be treated in the world. What I decided is that regardless of how other people act, I was going to be the example that I want my children to live up to. So here I am, putting myself out there, letting you know about my stories. Thankfully, I have a husband who completely supports me, and we found an amazing artist, Callan Clark, who brought the stories to life for us. I don't want to read these today because they're a little bit longer stories. They take about 10 to 15 minutes a piece to actually read. So instead, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I did next. So when those 3 books were done, I was too in love with my characters to let them go. And my children were growing up. My little one, she was 4 when I told the first story. She's 9 now. Not as interested in the picture books anymore. So I moved on to writing middle grade books. And I had the same theory with my middle grade books. I have 2 of them right now that I had with my picture books. If I'm going to take the time to tell a story, I want it to actually do more than just entertain. So these stories are helping kids recognize that secret keeping is not healthy. No secret is a secret if more than one person knows it, first of all. But keeping secrets is something that every child plays with. It's part of learning autonomy. But when you keep secrets, it prevents you from making friends, because the only thing you can think of is, well, I know my secret, but I don't know your secret. And then it creates a sense of isolation. When kids start feeling isolated, they start feeling depressed, and it's a cycle that we're seeing in our society. So I want to show kids in a way that's not lecturing to them how keeping secrets is not healthy. And it's also Bubbles' hatching story, so I didn't have to let go of my character. So that's what Escaping Gardenia and Saving Gardenia both do, and those are aimed at kids 8 to 12. There is a 3rd book coming. Don't worry, my 9-year-old won't let me forget. She fell in love with these characters when I read them to her as well, and she's on me just about every day to get book 3 finished. But as you can imagine, a person who gets on a roll, you can't stop there. So I have all of these books in the plans, and they each took a certain amount of time to bring to production. But during my downtime, when I'm no longer creating by writing the stories, and I'm no longer doing anything except randomly promoting on the internet, I have time to write a whole series of other books. And this time, again, I stepped outside of my comfort zone, and I did something different, and I self-illustrated. So I have the little pink elephant and the Spanish version. I don't speak Spanish, but I live in Texas, where a great number of kids are either bilingual or Spanish speaking, and I felt like this is a message that they needed to hear as well. And anything I can do to encourage parents and children to interact, I'm going to try it. The little pink elephant, again, I said I self-illustrated. It's about a little pink elephant who loves to sing and dance. What we're trying to encourage kids and parents especially is, if you have a child with a personality that's maybe a little larger than life, nurture that, encourage that. We want people in this world who are larger than life, who go after their dreams, and who just love living. They're infectious to the people around them, and they bring joy everywhere they go. So that's what the little pink elephant is about. That was quickly followed by the little purple porcupine, because it speaks to the anxious mama. When we have children who are maybe a little different, just like the pink elephant, we want to encourage that. And sometimes it means stepping back and letting them try things we don't think they're quite ready for. I think my time is almost up. How are we doing, Alan? Couple more minutes? Okay. So the little purple porcupine, I left ambiguous, because there are so many things that our children struggle with that I didn't want to call it out and say, oh, this is a book about autism, or this is a book about fill in the blank with something your child is dealing with. I wanted to be something that parents of all different types of children, maybe even parents whose children don't struggle with anything, but they have friends who do. I want them to understand that we can't always jump in and do things for our children as much as we want to, as anxious as it may make us. We need to step back and see what they can accomplish on their own, or our friends can accomplish on their own, when you're reading it to a child who's got a sibling or a friend who has special needs. And I didn't stop there. I have the little yellow llama. This one's particularly personal because it's dealing with bullying on the playground. It's probably my least popular book in terms of online sales, but I hear so many positive things from parents whose children are experiencing that I wanted to make sure I gave it a shout out. If you have a child who's dealing with being bullied at school, who feels like their school playground is so filled with gossip and fear that they don't know how to function, The Little Yellow Llama may be a good book for you to read to them. It shows how even though the little yellow llama desperately wants friends, she's not willing to give in to fear to get them. Instead, she wants to encourage the other little yellow llamas to give up the gossip and embrace who they are and the things that they love as well. So that was my third book. I did publish a few new books this year. I'll just hold them up for a minute. They're actually not available on Indie Lecture at the moment because I don't have any besides what I'm showing you in stock here at my home. I have The Little Panda and The Sloth and the Snail. The Sloth and the Snail is about encouraging our kids to be content where they're at and with what they have. And then I have Take a Walk on the Beach. This is one that I had printed in a special font. I don't know if you can see that there. This is a dyslexic font. I homeschool my children, and one thing that I hear from parent after parent after parent is, I wish there were more things for children who are dyslexic on the marketplace. So when I found this font, I thought an early easy reader was the perfect place to showcase it. This is a short one. If I have time, I think I'm down to 5 minutes. I can go ahead and read Take a Walk on the Beach, or at least part of it. Showcase my illustrating skills here in my watercolor. One day, I went for a walk and I walked down to my favorite beach. I put some sand in my bucket, I put some water in my bucket, and now I was ready to hunt for treasures. Wouldn't we all love to be on the beach hunting for treasures? On my walk, I found lots of things. I found a small crab. I think crabs are fun to watch. I gently put the crab in my bucket. I need to be careful or I'll get pinched. Is that a good reminder? I walk along the tide's edge. The waves tickle my toes. I see some shells. I pick up my favorite shells. They go into my bucket with the crab. The beach is full of wonderful things. I have to look carefully if I want to see all of it, so I walk slowly and see what I can find. I do not take everything that I find. I want to leave treasures for nature to use. If you look carefully along the beach, there's seashells scattered around. Look, a starfish. I'm careful. I do not want to hurt it. I gently put it in my bucket. Even though I'm careful, the starfish has a mind of its own. It wants to stick to the side of the bucket. When I get tired, I stop to rest. I dig a hole in the sand and I pour out my treasures into the hole. I build a sandcastle. It's the perfect place for the crab to live. After decorating the castle, I head home. I leave all of my new treasures at the beach. I always have fun at the beach and I only take home what I brought with me. I start to feel sad and then I remember there will be new treasures the next time I go. The end. So that was an easy reader. Small words intended for young children who struggle with reading. A font that makes it easy for them to recognize individual letters. They're bottom heavy and it helps distinguish letters that are often easy for kids to turn around and mix up. like the B's and the A's. It's not foolproof. I'm being told I'm running out of time. Something for you to look up if you have a child with dyslexia. If you're interested in any of my books, most of them are on Indie Lecture, and there's currently free shipping. They're all available on Amazon and most of the large bookstores. Thank you, Alan.
Authors Marketing Guild is a membership-owned organization designed to help authors succeed and learn how to better market and sell themselves and their books. Join us at authorsmarketingguild.com and receive so many benefits you'll wonder why you didn't join sooner. That's authorsmarketingguild.com.
Welcome to IndieLector.store, an online bookstore where the discriminating reader can find award-winning books. IndieLector.store is not a big corporation, so we can give up to 80% of the sales directly to the author. Help us support them by buying a great book at IndieLector.store. The 5th Annual Authors Marketing Event. 2 days of live seminars in marketing for authors. The only organization that certifies authors in marketing. Live and free to the first 100 authors registered. Sponsored by Bubblish, empowering entrepreneurs, and Indie Lector Store, paying authors for their fair share. Head to www.2020.authorsmarketingguild.com today.